Hey y'all, Zaylin here. This is episode 1 of what will hopefully be many on New World, a sandbox-style, survival-influenced MMO from Amazon Games. In this episode, we'll take a look at what this game is and why I think that you should absolutely give this game a play. So without further ado, episode 1, why you should absolutely play New World. New World is set in 17th century. Well, it's an alternate version of the 17th century. But to give you some idea about what the setting is for this game, we need to do some background as to what happened in the 17th century. To do that, we need a small history lesson. It was the latter part of the Spanish and Dutch Golden Age. France was ruled by King Louis XIV. Europe was undergoing a scientific revolution not seen yet by the world, and much of what we consider modern science was being created and discovered. The Dutch East India Megacorp was formed, the infamous 30 Years' War, the Turkish War, and several others were being fought. The European colonization of the Americas began in earnest during this period, and of course, the glamorized conquistador was in its prime. Famous individuals like Newton, Pascal, Kircher, Perrault, Shakespeare, Bach, Scarlatti all existed during this period. The Bank of England was established, the King James Bible was first published, bacteria was discovered, the first measurement of the speed of light. Heck, even calculus was developed. So much history, so many endless possibilities happened there. It was truly an amazing time to be alive. Although this MMO is set in an alternate version of the 17th century on an island, I believe it'll be heavily influenced by this time period from everything that we've seen so far. Welcome to New World. You arrive in a ship. Well, okay, so your ship is shipwrecked on an island. But dude, this is one beautiful island. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now we enter into the survival influence of this game. You basically arrive with nothing but the clothes on your back and whatever weapon you had on your ship. Pick up your weapon and get going. You have an entire island to discover. The magic, the mystery. This is a completely classless game. You choose your equipment and weapons. Those choices then define your playstyle. The more you use them, the more proficient you become. Want to be a crafter in New World? Great. Pick up a hammer and get to work. Supposedly, the game AI will adapt to your playstyle, so this will get interesting with so many people playing their own unique way. I have my doubts, but I also love to be surprised. We all expected this game to be 100% sandbox open-world PvP game. Well, guess what? This has changed. Amazon has decided to add a PvE element to the game. Not one of the traditional raids and dungeons, but more of a living, progressive state. I am hopeful that this won't turn into world events much like we see in Guild Wars 2 and other games that happen on scheduled times where players line up ready to Zerg complete them, but rather a progressive eventuality that can happen at any moment. They have introduced what is called the corruption. This is a constant pushing of corruption upon settlements, eventually hitting a breaking point where players will either be forced out or forced to engage and push back on the corruption. When I say forced, players actually will found and create their own settlements. This corruption, its goal is to remove you from those settlements. So if you want to keep your settlement, you must engage in some form of PvE in this game. The combat in this game is real-time combat, something we should expect from an MMO, though Amazon Games seems to be touting this as some new shiny idea. They've said it's much more like an action RPG than an MMO. Positioning, tactics, and response time will play just as much into the success of battles as your gear and stats will. With weapon mastery and progression, each type of weapon has its own skill tree. The more you use it, the more you get to learn in that tree. They even have a real-time weapon combat role switching. They are providing loadouts where you can, depending on the situation, switch to the loadout that is the most necessary, whether that is for the group or if you're just out soloing about. In this game, you will truly be able to be anything and everything. And yes, given enough time, you will be able to become proficient in all the weapons. Anyone and everyone can even do magic in real world. Your proficiency and effectiveness in magic depends on your attribute points that you put in. PvP. What the game was supposed to be, 100% open world PvP. Well, this has changed. PvP is now an opt-in system. The types of PvP in the game are faction PvP, much like the Realm versus Realm systems, that of Dark Age of Camelot, and soon Camelot Unchained. The 3 factions of the game can go head-to-head once you're flagged, and you can fight them to your heart's content. The skill portion of this game, as we mentioned earlier, puts things together so that a level 50 player, in theory, will have the ability to beat a level 60 player. This is all based on skill, tactics, positioning, not so much on your gear and your statistics. There are also territory wars. When you enter the game, you can join a company. This is basically what Amazon Games is calling a guild. Your companies can go head-to-head in a 50 versus 50 max to capture different territories. Amazon Games is calling this the pinnacle moment of PvP in their game. We'll see about that. They've received a ton of flack from the PvP community about this game-changing decision in regards to how PvP is done in the game. This is a major game for Amazon Games, and they need to hit as many people as possible to play it if they are to truly be successful. Personally, I think this is the right decision to include a strong PvE element, as it will gather a lot more people, and even though the PvP community is bitching and bellyaching about it, they're still going to play the game. This game has some many neat and fun ideas, and a nice twist that makes the game not feel like a reskin of something else. I believe this game will have many fantastic opportunities for gaming communities to come together in a company to do some truly great PvP together while having a blast. The PvE element forces people to play together, communities to come together to be strong and to survive. I can't wait to get into New World, and I highly suggest that you give it a try.